Hey guys, Dan here from Daniel Norris Effects, and today I will be reviewing this EOS to Micro Four Thirds lens adapter, which I bought from the iParts Shop UK eBay page, of which I have left a link to in the description below. We are all eagerly awaiting to hear if Metabones will finally be releasing a Canon EF to Micro Four Thirds speed booster, and most certainly a Blackmagic edition. However, while we wait for that most amazing news, we will have to make do with what's already out there at the moment. There are plenty of cheap speed boosters popping up all over eBay, though they lack one key feature that the almighty Metabone speed booster has: an internal manual aperture. Which brings us to the product we're looking at today. This is an EOS to Micro Four Thirds adapter, which gives manual aperture control to non-manual lenses. I believe this mount I have here allows for an aperture range of f1.7 to f22, though don't quote me on that, as it is just my assumption gathered from my tests. The adapter is well built, made entirely of metal aside from the aperture blades, and features a ball bearing operated aperture ring, making for a smooth aperture action. I've decided to change up the order in which we look at the pros and cons for this one, as surprisingly, there was only one con, and it's only a personal con for me. So, the only con? The EF only mount. The Canon mount for this adapter is EF only, meaning all EFS lenses will not fit the adapter. I class this as a con only because I feel it adds an unnecessary limitation for lens options. I'm well aware that there aren't a lot of EFS lenses out there, and even fewer that could be considered good lenses, but lenses like the Canon EFS 55 to 250mm f4, I would most certainly like to be able to use with my Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera, as in spite of the cheap price tag, it yields a great deal of performance. And now, just because I want to leave the pros to last, here's a feature which some may like and others may not. The oddly shaped aperture when half closed. The aperture blades don't close evenly, leaving a sort of 3/4 semicircle instead of an even circular bokeh orb. Some may like this as it's kind of different, but if you're like me and prefer the perfect circle instead of a hexagonal or whatever shape this is supposed to be, then you might find this as more of an annoyance. And now finally, let's get to the pros. Pro number 1, solid construction. The entire adapter is completely metal, giving much needed support for both camera and lens. The Canon mount is solid and fits very snugly to the lens, leaving you without any worries that your lens will be falling off. It's the same story with the Micro Four Thirds lens mount as well. Though it's not as snug as the Canon mount, it still feels like a very well made mount with no worries about security. Pro number 2, the aperture range. Though f1.2 lens users may scoff at being limited to around f1.7, I found very little noticeable difference when using my Sigma 30mm 1.4. To me, the sacrifice of a stop or two is well worth the ability to use this lens on my Micro Four Thirds camera, especially when you take into account pro number 3, the low price tag. This type of lens mount can be found from as low as £25 up to £75. Whether or not the £75 versions are any better than the cheaper options, I do not know. But for the quality you are getting and the versatility it gives your Micro Four Thirds camera, I'd say that the £30 I spent on this one was money well spent. So final thoughts? If you are a Canon user who has or is thinking about getting a GH3 or Blackmagic camera to accompany your EOS camera, but don't want to buy more lenses and want something cheap to hold you over while we wait for Metabones to hear our cries, then this is just what you need. In all seriousness, getting a cheap speed booster and using an ND filter with it is a better solution, as it gets you closer to the original focal length of the lens. However, if the crop factor doesn't bother you that much with the Blackmagic Pocket camera, or any Micro Four Thirds camera for that matter, then I would say that this is your better option. Why? Unlike the cheaper speed boosters, this adapter does not put another piece of glass between the lens and the sensor, and in my experience, cheap glass can often soften your image, add heavy colour fringing, and more or less just plain ruin the quality your lens should be giving you. Plus, do you really want to be spending more than 30 quid on something that you might be replacing within a year? I would most definitely recommend this adapter to anyone who asks. The mounts are solid, the aperture is smooth, and the price is more than reasonable, and I've left a link in the description to the eBay page where I bought this one from. That was my review of this cheap lens adapter whose quality surprised the hell out of me. I'm Dan from Daniel Norris Effects, and I will see you in the next video.